Liberty cannot be divorced from equality. Equality cannot be divorced from liberty. Nor can liberty and equality be divorced from fraternity. Who among the following gave these words in the Constituent Assembly to promise political and social democracy? Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The answer is option D. See the question. It is regarding social equality or social democracy. So who can be the most appropriate person to talk about this? See, in these cases, you must use your logical guess. Even though you may not have read these quotes or you may have not gone through these words, but again go through these statements in deep. So since you have to make a random guess or a logical guess, go through the terms in this statement. Liberty cannot be divorced from equality. Equality cannot be divorced from liberty. Nor can liberty and equality be divorced from fraternity. This is to promise political as well as social democracy. So the concept is regarding social inequalities. So option can be option D, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. Which of the following statements are correct? Abolition of untouchability helps to promote fraternity among people. Some of the provisions of both fundamental rights and DPSP reflects the constitution maker's stand on the dignity of each individual. See, abolition of untouchability helps to promote fraternity among the people. That is a correct statement. So first of all, what is fraternity? A sense of brotherhood. A feeling of oneness or a kind of brotherhood feeling is what meant by fraternity. See, first of all, to achieve a brotherhood or a kind of fraternity, each person must have a dignified life. See, first of all, I must have dignity. Then only other persons recognize me and treat me as equals. So to have a dignified life, abolition of untouchability also plays a crucial role. So by removing this, we can try to achieve the concept of a kind of brotherhood. So one is a correct statement. 2. The provisions of fundamental rights and DPSP reflects the dignity of people. Yes, correct. Why? Because Article 21 says that right to have a dignified life. Clear? Again, Article 23 deals with prohibition of trafficking in human beings as well as prohibits forced labor. So by avoiding or prohibiting all these things, people can have what? A kind of dignified life. Also Article 42 says that to provide for just and humane conditions of work. Human conditions of work need to be provided to labor. Article 42 talks about that. And also various provisions of DPSP reflects the welfare concept, also reflects a kind of providing dignity to each individual. So 2 is also correct statement. Answer becomes option C, that is both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. The Constitution guarantees absolute liberty to develop oneself and to live a civilized life. The individual liberty may be subordinate to the liberty of the large number of common public. Which of the statement is not correct? See, the Constitution guarantees only limited liberty and not absolute. The Constitution does not guarantee absolute liberty. Why? Because there are certain kind of restrictions imposed by the state. That is, among to our liberty, the state can impose certain kind of restrictions. Apart from that, there is liberty. Okay, the freedom with restrictions is what meant by liberty. So there is liberty, but it has been restricted sometimes. Clear? So the Constitution does not give us with absolute liberty. So 1 is a wrong statement. And the individual liberty may be subordinate to the liberty of a large number of common public. That's a common simple statement. So since you have to find the not correct one, A is not correct. So answer is option A, 1 only. Consider the following statements regarding socialism under Indian context. The essence of Indian socialism is democratic socialism, where private players coexist along with public sector. In a state socialism or communistic socialism, priority is given for nationalization of all means of production and abolition of private property. Yeah, under our socialism, India does not go for a state socialism, but went for what? Democratic socialism. This means under our country, both public, that is government, or the private is involved in our economy. This production distribution of things is not a state monopoly, but also private players also took part there. But see, if it is a state economy or a state-sponsored socialism or a state socialism, there may have the complete nationalization of all means of production, and also there can be what? Abolition of private property, and that is not happened in our country. Why? Because we follow democratic socialism. So both statements are correct here. Answer is option C, that is both 1 and 2. What does 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act related to? Reservation for economically weaker sections in government services, reservation for SC/ST community in parliament and state legislature, reservation for other backward classes in private education institutions, reservation for religious minorities in government services. So 103rd Amendment Act is related to reservation for economically weaker sections in government services. Answer is option A. So you must note down some of the important amendment acts. See, whatever amendments we have discussed under our classes, also whatever the article number we have discussed in our classes is very much important for us from exam perspective. Regarding, we have discussed various Supreme Court verdicts under our classes. That is also important for prelims as well as mains perspective. Also, you please update with the current constitutional amendments. 99th amendment regarding National Judicial Appointments Committee, strike down by Supreme Court. 100th is regarding land boundary agreement between India and Bangladesh. 101st Amendment Act regarding goods and service tax. 102nd constitutional status to National Commission for Backward Classes. 103rd is regarding economically weaker section reservation. 104 regarding extension of SC/ST reservation to parliament as well as state legislatures. 105 regarding the power of central as well as state regarding OBC list. So this latest constitutional amendment act is important for us from prelims perspective. So please note it down. 103 is regarding reservation to economically weaker sections in government services. Okay. Consider the following statements. A bill to amend the constitution can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha and not necessarily in the Lok Sabha alone. The constitutional amendment bill does not require the prior permission of the president to get introduced in the parliament. High courts in India have the power to judicially review the constitutionality of the laws made by the parliament. Find the correct statement here. See, regarding amendment to the constitution, a bill can be introduced for that purpose either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. It is not necessary that bill has to be introduced in Lok Sabha alone. No, a constitutional amendment bill can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha, not an issue. It can be introduced even by a private member. That is, a member who is not a minister can also introduce a constitutional amendment bill. And prior recommendation of president is not mandatory. Clear? Now see the questions. A bill to amend the constitution can be introduced either in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha and not necessarily in the Lok Sabha alone. That's a correct statement. 2. The constitutional amendment bill does not require the prior permission of president to get introduced in the parliament. That's also a correct statement. High courts in India have the power to judicially review the constitutionality of laws made by the parliament. That is also a correct statement. See, in our constitution, the judicial review power is with Supreme Court as well as High Court. Both the central laws or the state laws can be reviewed by Supreme Court or High Court, not an issue. Even the constitutional amendment can be reviewed by both Supreme Court as well as High Court, not an issue. So 3 is also a correct statement. So since all the statements are correct here, our answer becomes option D, that is 1, 2 and 3.